We would like to welcome the different panelists today. Mr. Gilles Bajazet, who's the Director of the Interreg Caribbean Program of Guadeloupe. Next, we have Mr. Rodney Taylor, who is the Secretary General of the Caribbean Telecommunications Union. We wish to welcome Mr. Jean-Claude Nelson, who is the 9th Vice President of the Guadeloupe Regional Council, Mr. Omar Morales, International Relations and Cooperation, as well as the focal point for Interreg Caraïbes, Mr. Pascal Bouchot, Deputy Director of Operations, Innovation, Energy Transition and Digitization of the Collectivité of St Barthélemy, and we'd like to invite Mr. Gilles Bajazet to begin his welcoming remarks. Thank you. First of all, I would like to greet all the participants on this occasion that is financed by the Interreg Caribbean program. Next, I would like to thank the project team for their invitation and the opportunity that has been offered to the Joint Secretariat of the Interreg Caraïbes program for widening our cooperation in the Caribbean region. This is a complex zone because it is composed of countries and territories, states in different stages of development. More than that, we have such a large linguistic diversity, which constitutes a great source of wealth, but also which could sometimes pose a hindrance to our cooperation. Notwithstanding the heterogeneity of our Caribbean region, there are challenges that are shared among all countries, particularly the economic development through the diversification of different production sectors, prevention and management of natural disasters, conservation of our natural and cultural patrimony, as well as rollout of prevention of diseases in our region, not to mention the thrust for renewable energy, reinforcement of linguistic capacities, promotion of mobility among our student and teaching population, as well as the development of transport links, as well as telecommunications in the Caribbean. Of course, the mandate of the CTU is the rollout of projects among community members and members from outside of our community to collaborate with one another. We work towards pooling our resources and expertise and experiences in order to face the challenges that arise in this diverse Caribbean region. This articulation, which has been put in place by the CaribIX Project by Dauphin Telecom Company, the Regional Council of Guadeloupe, and the Caribbean Telecommunications Union. This project aims to secure and manage the traffic of data through internet by the development of IXPs. The project also aims to improve the quality of connections through optimizations of broadband services. To meet this objective, the Interreg Caribbean program brings financial support, and we also put in place an innovative process with regard to budgets that are accessed through the FEDER and the FED, which are channeled through the CTU. The Joint Secretariat of the Intercaribe Program is pleased and proud to be associated with the rollout of this program. And I would just like to underscore the critical work that is being done by all the partners, and I wish us all the greatest success so that we can build together the greater Caribbean region. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you, Mr. Gilles Bajazet, for your introductory remarks and for sharing with us your vision of this project. We would like to pass the mic on now to Mr. Rodney Taylor, who is the Secretary General of the CTU. Rodney Taylor, over to you.
Caribbean Telecommunications Union is pleased to be a part of this initiative today. The CTU was established in 1989 by CARICOM heads of government, and we were established to harmonize telecommunications policy within the CARICOM space. And therefore, this project does exactly that. We believe and we've been advocating for the establishment of internet exchange points within our member states and within the Caribbean in general, because we believe this will redound to the benefit of our regional internet infrastructure. It will lend itself to more efficient network routing of traffic. It will help to develop the internet economy for the Caribbean countries. And so we are pleased, coming on the heels of a very recent announcement for the elimination of roaming charges within our CARICOM states by some of our major telecom operators, to be able to work with St. Martin, St. Bart's, and Guadeloupe to establish these internet exchange points. We will continue to work with our member states to enhance and to build out resilient and reliable internet infrastructure. We believe that internet exchange points help to improve the routing efficiency of traffic within the region. And we work with several partners, including CaribNOG and other internet organizations, to be able to support our member states. And certainly, from the CTU's perspective, the project is being managed by the Business Development and Implementation Support Unit within the CTU, headed by Mr. Gary Kalu, who is sitting right next to me, and from whom you will hear very shortly. We certainly, since 2006, have been seeing tremendous uptake of the internet exchange points within the region. Prior to that, a lot of our traffic exchange, even at the domestic level, had to be routed to international circuits to reach local markets and regional markets. And we believe that this project will help to drive, as I mentioned previously, the development of our internet infrastructure. So we are pleased to be able to be part of the implementation of this project. We are confident that we will successfully see the completion of this project under the able leadership of Mr. Gary Kalu, and with the support of Mr. Bevel Wooding, again, who's one of our advisors, who's sitting right next to me and from whom you will hear shortly. So with those few words, I want to thank you for listening, and we look forward to the successful implementation of this IX3 project and to working with the parties involved to not just implement the IX3, but to help to drive other businesses around the IX3 in other related aspects of the internet space. So thank you very much and good afternoon.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Secrétaire Général de la CTU.
Thank you very much, CTU Secretary General. Thank you for showing the way forward for the Greater Caribbean region in terms of the internet space, whether English-speaking, French-speaking, or other. And now we will hand the mic over to the 9th Vice President of the Regional Council of Guadeloupe, Mr. Jean-Claude Nelson. Mr. Secretary General of the CTU, representative of the Collectivity of St. Martin, the representative of the Collectivité of St Barthélemy, the Secretary General, and representative of Interreg Project program. We came into being in 2016, and we made the commitment to guarantee fiber optic coverage at 100%. Indeed, we evaluated the risk represented by the insufficiencies in the current infrastructure, the infrastructure that existed at the time, and we took it upon ourselves to forge forward with development, particularly in the rural areas of our territories and countries. With regard to the risk that we measured, we came up with a very ambitious objective and project because over the last few months and years, we realized that we needed to move forward in a concerted manner. 10, tell me where you live, and I can tell you your access speed. With regard to urban planning in Guadeloupe and the planning for digitization, we were able to move forward with major operations for the installation of internet infrastructure to increase competitivity in our territories. The underwater fiber optic channels that were put in place would help us to render our exchanges more sustainable. Also, we have been moving forward with the construction and exploitation of more sustainable fiber optic options in what is known as the white areas of our territory. 66,000 households in Marie-Galante, Terre de Haut, Terre de Bas, the Leeward Coast in Guadeloupe, which are now all equipped with high-speed internet access, which has revolutionized our daily life. The visibility and availability of information just a click away is something that we can be proud of, not to mention that we have been able to build the digital economy. The health crisis that we all have experienced over the recent past have underscored the necessity for high performance internet connections. That is important to daily living. IXP structures play a critical role in health, in education, and other areas of life. It is therefore quite naturally that the Regional Council of Guadeloupe agreed to become the project leader for this ambitious project to facilitate exchanges between the French territories and the wider Caribbean region. We envision digital transformation. It is a means for Guadeloupe to take a step forward in terms of regional Caribbean integration. We are pleased to have Caribbean experts in the domain of telecommunications to be able to ensure the best practices in terms of internet governance and administrative, legislative, and commercial administration of such infrastructure in our region. We are pleased to contribute to the optimization of local content, as well as exchange activities, exchange of information from within our region to the rest of the world. We are united not just by the sea, but also by the internet. And so it is a great opportunity for us to thank you, to thank the stakeholders, to thank all the partners who are connected and who are united in a common vision and a common objective. Integration of digitization in our everyday lives, even in the areas of agriculture and small business, is a prerequisite for their success. The framework that we envisage at this time will benefit thousands of micro enterprises. The Guadeloupe collectivity recently completed a bidding process to be able to accompany the agricultural sector in terms of digitization. 10,000 participants benefited from this to be able to ramp up the production, particularly in the small and micro enterprise sector. This has had a major impact on the productivity and the volume of production, particularly in agribusiness. Ladies and gentlemen, this launch today that brings us all together is just a starting point for us for where we're going. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Mr. Jean-Claude Nelson, 9th Vice President of the Regional Council of Guadeloupe. We will now pass the mic on to Mr. Omar Morales, who represents the territory of St. Martin. He is in charge of international relations and cooperation with Interreg Caribe program. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. All protocols observed. I am pleased to be here and to participate in this virtual launch of the CaribIX project funded by the Interreg Caribe program thanks to FIDER funding. CaribIX is a project that aims to develop IXPs between St. Martin, St. Barthélemy, and Guadeloupe, and the major objective is to secure the exchange of data on these networks. The new opportunities that are created thanks to this partnership and the connection with the GICS will redound to the benefit of the wider membership of the CTU. And we wish to thank all of the partners and stakeholders for their active participation in this project in our territories. This is a major step forward, even in the context of the very fragile nature of our countries and territories in the Caribbean region being so vulnerable and exposed to natural disasters. I'd like to also recognize the CTU with whom we've been collaborating very closely. And also, I wish to acknowledge the wider cooperation with the rest of the region. I am particularly pleased to be here, and I am convinced that we will be going very quickly towards a mutually beneficial partnership, and I wish us all great success of this project, CaribIX. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Morales, for this intervention and for showing that indeed this project of GICS, it is not new, but that we have a great future that lies ahead with this new opportunity for our territories, and we will now welcome Mr. Pascal Pechot, who is the Deputy Director of Operations in charge of innovation, energy transition, and digitization of the Collectivity of St Barthélemy. Good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor to participate in this opening ceremony, this inauguration of a wonderful project known as CaribIX. I'm not going to repeat what was said by my counterparts, but just to note that what is particularly of interest in this project is maybe to present to you what is of interest to us specifically in St Barthélemy. For the last 10 years, we have been actively pursuing urban planning, and certainly with regard to the telecommunications market, we have been very proactive in expanding the connectivity in St Barthélemy. In 2015, we put in place the fiber optic connections, not just for us, but also for the telecommunication service providers and their customers. Since 2019, the collectivity has been deploying its TTH infrastructure throughout St Barthélemy, and we envisage 100% of coverage by 2024. This strategic positioning aims to expand coverage on the territory of the population, but more specifically of corporate users. The collectivity has been making available not just fiber optic
des équipements télécoms. C'est notamment
bands, but also to telecoms, wider telecoms users. And we are looking forward to the expansion of IXPs in St Barthélemy. So within our territory, we have one service provider that is exclusively charged with residential and commercial usage for telecommunications. And this is a fairly well-known and large operator known throughout the Caribbean. Particularly speaking after the cyclone of 2017, the hurricane which struck us, we did experience some damage, and so this led us to envisage a different future for telecommunications, forced us really to take stock of our vulnerability and to seek different solutions. And so we started looking at new options for routing our telecommunications. And the St Barthélemy collectivity opted at that point to look for more feasible and practicable solutions in the public sphere. The network at this time is now 100% underground in light of that catastrophe that we experienced. And so we are looking towards expanding our interconnectivity through underwater cables. And the Regional Council of the Guadeloupe and the Collectivity of St. Martin are our partners in that regard. We've also been collaborating with the Netherlands Antilles in this regard. And so this new project of putting in place IXPs through CaribIX has a very special place in our ambitions to perhaps avoid the challenges that we have known in the past. And we hope that this new infrastructure would be beneficial to all. The St Barthélemy collectivity counts on the expertise from the CTU, but also with regard to internet governance issues.
The CTU has an expertise
We
that
are
is really
particularly
adapted through its
pleased to
experience
be able to
in
enjoy
the
technical
implementation of different
assistance from the
ISPs
CTU
in the Caribbean.
throughout the Caribbean
There is no
region.
doubt that this service will help all of our partners, both and in St. Barthélemy. This is a project that is really an example, as Gilles Bajazet was saying earlier, because it mixes EDF and EDRF funds, ERDF funds, outermost territories. Thank you for your attention, and I'm here for all of your questions. Thank you, Pascal Pochot, who is the Assistant Director for the Technical Services in St. Barthélemy. He spoke about the consequences of the Hurricane Irma, for example. Just to remind you, you can ask your questions in the chat or in Q&R part. Just after the press section, we will take your questions. So now we're going to hear from Mr. Gary Kalu, Director of Business Development at the CTU, who will speak about the implementation of the CaribIX project. Mr. Kalu.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, and good afternoon to all our participants across the region, and particularly within the French territories of St. Martin, Guadeloupe, and St. Barthélemy. The CTU's involvement in this project at least started many years ago, and in fact, the project itself, as you've heard, has been in planning stage for quite some time, since 2015. And of course, we are very pleased today to be a part of this ceremony to start to launch the project, in fact, but some work on the project has already been started. So, of course, the CTU brings, as we've heard, a multitude of expertise in the area of telecommunications, as well as in internet exchange points. And this is one of the areas that we bring to the table for this project, and we are pleased to be associated with the project, as we see this as an integral part of the work that the CTU does in creating resilient and robust infrastructure, internet infrastructure across the region, as well as creating an opportunity for us to welcome and integrate the French territory into the wider Caribbean region. So several years of hard work, I would say, has paid off, and the CTU again is happy to be affiliated in the implementation aspect of the project, and we are pleased also that the Interreg program has financed partially this program. The CTU ourselves providing contribution significantly with in-kind support for the project. The project actually should have been started some time ago. Of course, we've had some challenges along the way. We've had a timeline for the project for about 24 months. It has now been compressed to just over 8 months. And this has now imposed a more aggressive timeline on the project. And it has caused us to re-strategize on how we will approach the implementation aspects of the project. For instance, we would obviously have to bring on additional resources to work in parallel streams to ensure that we meet our expected mandate for the project in terms of not just the installation of the IXPs across the 3 regions, but also to provide the necessary support in terms of creating the sustained governance arrangements that is necessary for managing and continuing supporting these IXPs, also in bringing together the key stakeholders and ensuring that there is collaboration and that there is support for the IXPs, and also to provide capacity building across the region, so that when our technical experts have left the French territories, we would have left behind a significant amount of expertise and the capacity to carry on with the management of these infrastructure beyond the life of the project. Additionally, we would also like to see, and we are also going to work with governments within the region to establish policies to ensure that these facilities are not just used to exchange traffic, but it can also create, in the long term, can provide for social and economic development within those territories. So the remit of the CTU goes beyond, as I say, just implementing the IXPs, but it looks deeper into the management, the governance arrangement, and also the utilization of these structures as we move forward in the years ahead. Of course, the COVID pandemic has also impacted the project, and in our planning, we had agreed on several trips to the territory. Now our mode of operation in terms of implementation will take on a mode where we will have less on-site visits, but more of interaction and online meetings and online interaction with various stakeholders in the region. So therefore, it is imperative, and it is of almost critical that we get the support on the ground from the various teams within the various regions to ensure that there is resources that are available. There are resources that are available to work along our technical team and to support the implementation. This is not a CTU project. It is a CTU supported project which seeks to enhance the infrastructure, the internet infrastructure in the region. So therefore, we look forward to the support on ground for the for your involvement in the project as we move to implement over the next couple of months. In fact, we have planned to be on ground in the territory during the first couple of weeks of April, and we have to set our schedule and work through with the partners within the region to ensure that the visit can be successful. It can give our technical team, our experts who will be working along with the various stakeholders, would give them the opportunity to meet and liaise and interact with the various stakeholders to ensure that we gather as much information and that we are able to support the project in the manner in which we have mandated and agreed to within our remit for this project. So in closing, I would like to again give our commitment, the CTU's commitment to the project, and we look forward to the support of all the stakeholders within the territories to participate and to be involved in this very important and very exciting project as we move to implement these IXPs within the region. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Mr. Gary Kalou, who is the coordinator of the project, who is in charge of development, business development at the CTU. We will now ask Mr. Bevel Wooding, who's a special advisor of the CTU of the CaribIX Project, to part to the benefits derived from the CaribIX Project. Bevel Wooding.
And greetings to the officials and colleagues at Interreg, the CTU, and of course, those who are joining us at this virtual launch from across the Caribbean. Allow me first, on behalf of the American Registry for Internet Numbers, ARIN, and the Caribbean Network Operators Group, to extend my congratulations to Interreg and the CTU on this virtual launch. It has been long in coming and highly anticipated. My job today is to share with you some of the benefits that we can expect from this important project. And for the participating territories from the French Caribbean, this task is made easier by the fact that in the years since this project was first conceived, several Caribbean countries have gone on to successfully implement local internet exchange points. In fact, in the early 2000s, there were still questions as to whether the benefits of ISPs observed in larger countries and markets would apply to small island states such as those in the Caribbean. It was around that time that the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, in collaboration with Packet Clearinghouse and the CaribNOG community, began a concerted effort to raise awareness of the value proposition of local exchange points in the Caribbean. So as we stand here today at the launch of the CaribIX project, the data and the traffic confirm that Caribbean territories, internet service providers, and the consumers can in fact realize tangible benefits from establishing a local exchange point. And the data has also revealed best practices and approaches that we can employ to get exchange points up and running in a sustainable manner. So in a very real sense, the CaribIX project is a unique opportunity to bring these learnings, the good, the bad, and the ugly of Caribbean IXP deployment over the past several years, to bear upon this project. And that's what we will be doing. We will be taking the opportunity to learn from those experiences, and we'll be using that knowledge to actually put out an accelerated implementation process that will ensure success for this project. But there's another dimension to how we're going about the process of launching the exchange points and going through this project in the French Caribbean. And several of the speakers before me have already referred to it, and that is, this is happening against the backdrop of an ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. And that too has influenced or informed how we structure the approach. And it has also highlighted the benefits that this project is expected to bring. Because the past few years has seen a push throughout the Caribbean and in the French Caribbean for the development of local internet-based applications to deliver local services to local consumers. And this has always been the centerpiece of the rationale for IXP development in the Caribbean. And so the drive to get more applications online to meet local needs has highlighted the need in the French Caribbean for faster and more cost-effective ways to deliver those services. The past few years has also seen a troubling rise in cybercrimes and cybersecurity. These breaches, these incidents have spotlighted the need to consider local internet traffic and local internet infrastructure as critical to consumer protection, as well as critical to national security and economic development interests. And I'm setting this context for you so that we understand that the movement toward deploying internet exchange points, a behind the scenes infrastructure level component in the information economy and in the internet economy, that this move, which is at the core of the CaribIX project, is fundamental to the interests of the states and territories that are now involved in this project. It's a well-established fact that IXPs, or internet exchange points, lower internet access costs by decreasing ISP, or internet service provider, operating costs. They make it more economical to deliver internet access to more users in a local territory where an exchange point exists. And while this is not the place to get into the technical aspects of how IXPs work, the key point is this. By establishing local exchange points, traffic that is destined between consumers or points within a territory can remain within that territory as opposed to going outside of it. When that happens, IXPs ensure that traffic between local senders and local recipients use relatively cheap to no cost local connections rather than expensive international links. And that's the fundamental basis of exchange points. For internet service providers, the cost savings can be significant. The numbers that we are seeing both regionally and internationally show that 20% or more in savings for traffic delivery costs can be realized by service providers. And as local traffic grows by the introduction of more locally hosted applications, as we are seeing within the pandemic, the expectation is that these cost savings become a more significant contributor to expanding internet access and also to improving the quality of service experienced by local consumers. IXPs also create more efficient interconnection points for network operators. So in one location, you can have what is called peering relationships, cheaper and better traffic exchange, and the development of related information and communication services. This in turn translates into a greater capacity to deliver internet-based, not just traffic, but internet-based service delivery in territory. Now, in a time when we are all understanding the benefit of resilient, robust internet infrastructure to our service delivery capacity as governments, to our service consumption needs as consumers, these benefits take on a very real and very clear opportunity for CaribIX. The presence of a functional local exchange point also attracts out-of-country service operators. And several territories in the Caribbean have realized this benefit. You have territories like Curacao and Grenada attracting organizations, cloud delivery networks such as Akamai and Cloudflare, Amazon and Google to their exchange point because it makes it easier for them to deliver their content to local consumers. Those are the benefits that we also expect inside of this CaribIX process. Because of this, exchange points are uniquely able to encourage the development of related communications infrastructure. When you attract content and you attract applications, it becomes vitally important to get that content and those services out to the consumers. And that is an encouragement and incentive for governments, for private sector actors, and sometimes even community network providers, civil society organizations to build out local infrastructure, whether it's fiber cables, local data center development. And we are seeing these benefits happening in equivalently sized markets in the region. And so that's what we also can look forward to as the CaribIX process rolls out. So in summary, the benefits are both technical and non-technical. Technically, shorter pathways to delivering traffic means lower cost for delivering that traffic. Having the concentration of these internet infrastructure elements in country means that security, efficiency, and quality of service improvements can be realized. It ensures that traffic between local senders does not unnecessarily leave the territory, and that local recipients can use relatively cheap local connections to build out new services. And we can also look forward to the interconnection benefits and the attraction of content providers from across the region and around the world into the local market. All of these things, of course, stand to benefit everyone at every level. So I think it's safe to say that never before has the value of local internet exchange points been as obvious, or the need for building out exchange points as urgent as in the present context. If the internet is vital to economic growth and social empowerment, then development of local internet infrastructure can be considered an essential component in fulfilling these national development goals. The CTU, Interreg, CaribNOG, and our other partner organizations understand this and are fully committed to seeing this project through to its full success. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Mr. Bevel Woodin. Special Advisor. Now it's time for the media and the different participants to ask their questions or make comments. Do you have specific questions for any specific speaker? While we wait for the questions, I will maybe read some questions or comments from the chat. Max Henry, who is welcoming this event. He is the technical contact point for the IXP in Haiti. Maybe Max Larson could be a partner. He can be a resource partner for this project. We also have the greetings of Virginie from Fax Info, Antoine Durand de Soltec, spécialiste infrastructurel à St Barthélemy. Michel Marius has a question.
Maybe Michel Garcia, if you can put Michel Marius as...
Michel, can you add Mr. Marius as a panelist? And so we can have his questions.
Michelle?
Hi, good afternoon. I didn't necessarily have any questions since I'm just hearing about this activity more or less for the first time. So it's more about me just learning more about exactly what it entails and what the plans are.
We also have Sunil Lala from TTT, Trinidad and Tobago. And Mr. Max Larson, Henry, he's from Haiti.
Oui, allez-y.
Yes, go ahead. I would like to use this opportunity to really congratulate all the persons behind this project, the different participants. In 2019, since 2019, we have been working in this field in Haiti. And like all of the participants, we recognize that this project will make internet more resilient in the Caribbean context, where each year we have natural disasters. And I really just want to wish you all the best. And I hope that the internet will have a long life in the Caribbean. And I wish a long life for the IX Association in the Caribbean. Thank you. Thank you for the question, Mr. Max Larson. I think that there's a question for the CTU. William Barrison was asking for the mapping of the different IXPs in the Caribbean. That's an important point. So it's for the CTU. Do you have a mapping of the different IXPs in the Caribbean? Do you have that available?
We do, and we can make that information available on the CTU website for you. That is the short answer. So we can make the information available, which would outline those member states of the CTU who have already implemented internet exchange points since around 2006 or so. We've been advocating. We've seen significant growth since then, but at the moment we don't have that map up, and we can provide that with for you within a short time frame.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. We have a question from Sunil Lala. I will read it in English and then French. What is the expectation? What is the duration of the project? And what are the types of internet on the 3 islands that are participating? What is the expected duration of this project? And what are the internet infrastructures internet infrastructure are we speaking about on the different islands? The duration of the project, of this CaribIX project? The expected duration?
The expected duration is about approximately 9 months. We have not been physically on the ground to assess the level of the internet capacity or capability on the ground. So that's one aspect that we'll still have to undertake while on visit to the French territories. But the project is expected to last for about 9 months.
Thank you. Merci. Une autre question de Sunil Lala.
Another question from Sunil Lala. After CaribIX, what is foreseen as another type of project for all of the different, this question goes to all of the different speakers. After CaribIX, what type of project is expected to take place? For St. Martin, I think there's an issue which is linked to this one. Quelqu'un a demandé si on va interlier ou lier tous les IXP pour connecter les IXP. So I think this is the plan. We plan to connect all of the IXPs. Maybe the CTU can give a more detailed answer. That was a question for St. Martin. In Guadeloupe, there are many different projects that are ongoing. Someone asked about cybersecurity. Someone spoke about cybersecurity, and that is one of the things that Region Guadeloupe is working on with the territory of St. Barthélemy, which was mentioned by Pascal Pochot just a while ago. The other French territories, and maybe once we have made progress, because we've made progress on this project, maybe we'll be able to focus on cybersecurity, which is really critical for internet on the different territories. So we will continue this Caribbean cooperation with the other countries.
So this is something that can extend to all the projects, but I can't say much more at this point because it's still in the incubation phase, but it will be a future major project with much more collaboration. Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel, who is at the Regional Council of Guadeloupe. We will have now the question from Michel Marius.
Hi, good afternoon. Hi. I wanted to know how supportive have the ISPs been with respect to the implementation of the project and their willingness to connect to the IXP once it is established?
Thanks, Michelle. So from what we've heard, and over the years, I mean, this project has been in the planning stage since 2015, and back then we did interact, and over the period we've been interacting, not us ourselves, but the partners have been interacting with the operators, and they are very keen to be a part of the process. I think we nevertheless would have to work alongside the operators in terms of putting together the necessary governance arrangement and to put together the sustainability plan for managing and operating the IXPs as we go along. But is encouraging. The feedback that we've gotten from the ground is encouraging that the operators are in fact willing to participate and work on this project.
Merci, Monsieur
Thank
Morales.
you. Mr. Morales wanted to intervene earlier. Mr. Morales? I think it was Gilles Bajazet who wanted. Yes, I just wanted to add that the exchanges between the CTU and the Regional Council of Guadeloupe with regard to this project, I wanted to indicate that we are currently designing at the level of the Inter-Carib project since 2017, but we have once again identified cybersecurity as being a critical matter, and so we continue to plan and budget for projects in the sector with more attractive interest rates so that we can mobilize the international funding needed apart from the federal funding, that we can access greater levels of funding. For the time being, this has not been validated, but I just wanted to let you know that the Inter-Carib program continues and will continue with the participation of those stakeholders, telecommunications stakeholders, with some possibilities of financing these projects. Thank you. Thank you, Gilles Bajazet, who is the director of the Inter-Carib program. We'll go back to the question and answer section. Matthew Cohen, who asked the question and who wanted to know who are the different stakeholders who were mentioned with regard to do we have, for example, Orange as a stakeholder? Who are some of the stakeholders? Marvin Thomas, who's asking the question about do we need to include other French partners because it's at the origin of French project. Who can answer this question? I can't respond technically, but what I can say is that Canal, Orange are operators who, let's just say, they will benefit from this project. Let's put it that way. Perhaps I can add, if you wish, I can intervene here. Yes, Pascal, go ahead. So as Omar was saying, the IX are really targeting the telecom operators, not just the users. Operators are the front line entities that will benefit from this CaribIX project. But of course, we can't necessarily force a service provider to come on to the IX, but one of the missions of this project, CaribIX, is to render the IX much more attractive to the operators, and that would give them the motivation to come on board. And so it's really up to each of the operators in each of the territories to decide whether it's for them or not. And it's the same thing applies for IX operations, IX connections can't be decreed by the territories themselves, but simply that the stakeholders, the IX stakeholders and those entities that are registered in these different territories who decide to collaborate among themselves. So it's true that the architecture of the underwater cable is going to facilitate a greater strengthening of relations and information exchange among our islands, including with Bonaire, for example. There was a question earlier, I think, with regard to the Netherlands Antilles. So yes, this is going to facilitate that connection for Bonaire and Curacao as well. And so there would be great news for all of our territories. Thank you very much, Pascal Peuchot. And we have Suzanne Bourget, who is asking about the tariffs. Will there be an effect with this project? Have any ripple effect on the tariffs that are applied by the different operators, internet operators? Who can respond? Or does anyone want to respond to this with regard to the impact of the CaribIX project on prices practiced by the telecoms operators? Would anyone like to respond? I'll try to respond. Let me just say that, of course, and the question needs to be asked directly to the operator so they can explain what is their price structure, how do they structure their prices and their different offers. But one thing is for sure is that the use of the underwater cable is a recurring cost for operators, and it's quite a high cost, particularly in our territories, which is not the same for continental territories like North America or in Europe, for example, where the cost of megabytes per second on the underwater cable is much less than 50 cents euros. Here we are at a few euros per megabyte. So the cost as well of digital fuel, so to speak, is much higher in our region. So mechanically speaking, we should see perhaps not a drastic reduction in price, but what we should not see is an increase in pricing. These prices should perhaps remain stable. I think we should also add that if we are able to pool our resources, as Pascal was saying earlier, and if we can agree on rate structures, I think the operators, and I don't know if they're present in this session and might want to jump in, but yes, so I'd just like to say if any of the operators are here present and would like to comment, you are most welcome to do so in the question and answer section or on the chat. You're most welcome to intervene. So if we have answered all of the questions, I think we can move on to the closure of this launch. No more questions? Ms. Foster, somebody's asking for technical documents in the Q&A. So for all of these types of questions, you'd need to send us an email to the CTU, that's events@ctu.int, events@ctu.int. You can send your questions to that email address and someone will respond to you. So if we have no other questions, I think we can move towards the closure of this event. In any event, we wish to thank you all for your participation on behalf of all of the stakeholders of the CaribIX project, the different representatives of the collectivities of St. Martin, St. Barthélemy, Guadeloupe, on behalf of the different organizations. In order to organize this launch, we had to have a great deal of collaboration and cooperation, and we think in particular of those who have left us during the course of planning for this project. So many persons who were part of the planning stages over the years and who may not be with us here today. We want to thank them for their contribution along the way. And for all those who have contributed in some small way to making this a reality today, we thank you, we thank them. We're hearing more and more talk about this digital future, and it is definitely a positive point. So thank you to all of you for this memorable moment, the launch of CaribIX.